scenarios and the most tragic outcomes that trigger debilitating emotional responses. Their mental images and their corresponding feelings become the reason and/or excuses these people use to stay immersed in and engaged with a familiar pain. This group of sufferers is far surpassed in number by those who wrestle with, run from, or mentally and emotionally massage their tragic or traumatic past. They are stuck in the story of who they are and what is possible. They have been replaying in their minds a tragic script from which they determine that everything that has happened will more than likely continue to happen. Very often in this scenario, the suffering is evidenced by careless, reckless, self-debasing, or self-injurious behavior. More often, these are the people who do not believe their lives matter. Very common in both groups is the silent, terrorizing self-talk that keeps them enslaved to circumstances and experiences that destroy their capacity, and often their desire to lead fulfilling and joyful lives. This level of human suffering is heart-wrenching, intense, and absolutely unnecessary. When I meet individuals who are suffering, whether their experience reflects mental, emotional, or physical pain, I often listen as they try to convince me that they have done everything possible to change their situation. Some people will vehemently challenge and/or reject offers of support and possibilities for remedy. With great precision and detail, they are able to recount the stories of why their efforts didn't work and how they even, in some cases, made the situation worse. I have also met individuals who, because of the depth of trauma they have lived through, have given up. Resigned to a life of misery, they accept their suffering as their fate. Frequently, my first attempt at offering suffering individuals another way of seeing their experience is met with fierce resistance, which I call the fight to be right. What I have discovered is that people unwittingly fight to maintain ownership of the very limitations that cause their suffering. Unfortunately, while fighting for their limitations, most fail to realize this is not a fight they want to win. They are stuck in a way of thinking that triggers certain emotional responses that in turn hinder their capacity and diminish their willingness to consider anything new. Rather than engage them in a mental or emotional sparring match, I ask one simple question: what is your prayer? When an individual seriously contemplates this question, a tidal wave of reason threatens his or her plausible excuses and reasonable rationales. Stories of how pain and suffering should or can be tolerated and accommodated begin to recede. The ego has very few arguments that can survive the power of an earnest and heartfelt prayer. No matter how much we would like to blame our sufferings on people and circumstances seemingly beyond our control, the bottom line is staggeringly simple. Anything and everything we experience is a function of what and how we think. How we think determines our feelings and behavior. How we behave determines the nature and quality of our lives. This also means that any emotional investment, i.e. feelings, that are attached to a particular thought pattern will resurface each time the pattern is engaged or entertained. To neutralize and eventually eliminate an unconscious, unproductive pattern of thought and the associated feelings, a steady stream of new thoughts must be introduced. I have come to understand that when individuals are suffering through unpleasant or undesirable situations and circumstances, they are often unaware of how they participate in creating or recreating their experience. In severe cases, when there is an addiction to suffering, meaning that the individuals have accepted their experiences as normal and expect them to remain as they are, there is often a flat-out refusal to acknowledge or accept